Hi guys, welcome back. This is the third episode of our DevOps learning series. Today we'll be discussing about version control with the GitHub. If you have missed any of our previous episodes, you can check out the link above. If you want to learn DevOps and get globally recognized certificates, you can check out our DevOps certification course. The link is given below in the description box. Alright, let's start the video now. Hi, so let's talk about version control with GitHub. Here we'll be discussing about what is GitHub, what is version control and how do you manage your code spaces. So if we talk about DevOps, you need to have a code repositories where you manage the code. And if we talk about the open source community, where the people integrate, collaborate themselves and then they try to give their own changes in the code or some suggestions or some issues. So majority of them are using GitHub repositories, it's like free to use it. It's open source. You can set up Git and you can create an account. After that, you can add your own code spaces there. So we'll see here. Currently, I'm on my Ubuntu machine, where if you go to github.com, this is how the GitHub page look like. If you go to the dashboard, you see since I have already logged in with my account and I have the repositories that has been created under my account will be showing in the top repositories where I have been keep on doing some changes in the recent times, right? So if you have such things, repositories, so you will see them in the top search bar. If you don't have any GitHub account, so you can just go to github.com and then it's good to create an account. It's open source, it's free. It will not be any chargeable things. You can use your GitHub account. And let's say later in the future, you go to any organization, you join a company, and that's where they use GitHub so that you can link the same account and with their organizations, whatever the organization they have it, a private channel of GitHub, so they can directly let your account link over there. So it's good to have a GitHub account, and this is my repositories that I have already created called my_project. So to see the demonstration of GitHub, you should have a GitHub account, okay? And in order to do the CLI changes, you should have a CLI platform. So I'm using a CLI tool here, the Ubuntu shell tool. That's where I have already downloaded Git as a plugin which will interact to my GitHub account, and then I can play around with my repository stuff. Apart from GitHub, people use it Bitbucket and GitLab also. It's coming up, where people are using both GitLab also and then Bitbucket also. But majority of it, if I think about, GitHub is the mainly one. Every organization uses it, so it's good to have a understanding of GitHub, and we'll be covering up GitHub in our this session. All right. The advantages, if I talk about, what is advantages of using version control, why do we need GitHub? So as we spoke about the collaboration between multiple teams, right? So there was not a silo thing after coming the DevOps culture into the industry, right? So which means that let's say there are multiple teams, marketing team, then we have a developer A, developer B, both developer wants to develop the code based on their project. So, and how do they merge their code, so for that they can use a single platform called GitHub, where each developer can deploy their code. They can just create and modify the changes. After approval, their code will be merged to the main branch. So we'll be talking about what is a branching, what is a merging, how do you add the new files, or how do you commit the new files and stuff like that. All right. So first of all, the GitHub plugin is already installed on my machine, okay? If I just run Git, I will be able to run the command because the plugin is currently available. All right. Now let's look at some basics of it. First time, if you are doing any setup of GitHub, so you have to initialize the repository. Since the repository is already created, I believe that you guys have already created the repository. So once it is ready, and after that you want to initialize it, you can set up a config of the Git. Since I have already made the changes, so I will not do the same, but I'll tell you the commands that you can use to set up the config. So there is a command called git config, okay, -- global, and then you can pass on your name. So this is one command to set up your user credentials for the git config, and then another is you can use the same git config to set up the user email address actually. So here you can provide your email address, okay, at whatever at the rate gmail.com or whatever the email address that you have, so that you can link configurations to the GitHub. Once that thing is done, so after that you can go to that repository. You can create a folder with the same name, or any name that you can give it. Later you can say git init. So this initialize the GitHub repositories on your machine, and once that is done, you will be able to see the content of mainly .github, and then .git will be available as a directory once you initialize your GitHub, where the configurations of the credentials of your GitHub in order to make the communication to the repositories will be available here. After that, if you want to clone a repo, so you can use git clone command, and then you can just clone the repo. But what is the URL? How will you clone it? So there are 3 ways to clone it. Actually, you can either use HTTPS, SSH, or GitHub CLI. So you can use any of the platform to clone the repo. So I'll just use this SSH one. I'm using SSH because I have set up the configurations for the SSH keys. Alright, so for that as well, I will show you. You need SSH creation. For that, you can just refer to this documentation. It is there on the GitHub doc. How do you create your SSH keys? As we spoke about, the communication of client and server is mainly, there are multiple ways, like username, passwords, or key-based key pair authentications, or there is something called a personal access token, which is a PAT in terms of GitHub. So this is the key-based authentication key pair. You have to create a private and public key. So public key will be available on the server side, and the private key will be available on your machine, so that the interactions can happen. They can decrypt the messages, and then able to communicate from client to server. Okay, so you can follow these steps, and then once you do that, after that you will be able to see the keys will be created. So I already have this key. I'll show it up here. It's by default present in .ssh directory inside my home directory. So this is the key that I have created. So this is the private key, and this is the public key, because it has .pub as an extension there. Okay, now I'll do one thing just to showcase to you. I'll just go back. I'll create one more directory called repo. I'll go inside. Okay, there is no such things at this moment. There is no GitHub data currently available, but right now I'll do git clone, and let me copy this SSH URL, and then say, let me do this again. Okay, so once I do the clone, you will see the messages will come up there. It's trying to enumerating the objects, basically pulling the objects from the remote repositories, which is GitHub in this case. And then once that is done, you will see the entire repo has been cloned locally to your machines. Okay, now what is the advantage of cloning the repo? Why do we need to clone the repo? Why do we need to see it locally? Because see, any developer make the changes, they do the changes on the local machine. It's not like directly they go to the server and then do the changes. That is not how we can make automations. That is not how we can make things robust. We have to be scalable. So whatever is running already on the production environment, nobody touches it out directly. So they do their code changes, they build the product locally on the machine. After their local testing, then they push, they create a pull request, and after the approval, the code changes, whatever the engineer is doing will be pushed to the remote repo, centralized repositories, right? And after that, they do the testing, and further testing in the lower environments, they identify, okay, now the code is working fine, there is no such issues. It's good to go to the production environment, and that's how after that they go to the production, and then they merge their codes. That's how the life cycle of any code changes happen. So for that, you at least need the latest data, whatever is available on the centralized repo, to your local machine, so that developer can make changes on the local machine, and then later they can push it up. Okay, so after cloning, I do see, okay, I have the data which is already there, so I'll show it up here. If I go to my repo in the GitHub, you will see all these files are present, files and directories, right? So similarly, it has been cloned over my machine as it is. Okay, perfect. Now, once that is, so that is one way to, clone the repo. There is another ways, as I showed before, that you can clone it via any of these methods. Whatever is allowing you to do, you can just do that. Also, in terms of setting up the SSH keys, so for that you have to go to settings, because locally if you want to do the cloning without SSH, it will not success, because it will say you are you are not eligible in order to make the new connections to the GitHub. So you need to have the keys present. So I have already imported the key. So this is the key that I have created, and this key I have already added here as a public key. So if once you create your SSH key, you have to come up here on your account and then add a new SSH key. You can give any title name, then an authentication key, you can just type it, and then whatever the key, your public key is, you can just paste as it is here and then save it. So once you do that, after that the key will be saved like this, and later you can use the key n number of times, whatever the actions that you are performing. All right, so now we have the cloned repo here. We will see how do you make changes, how do you push the data to the GitHub, how do you commit the data, how do you make any changes to the GitHub. So for that, let me do something. I have a file called 𝐻IMANSHU.txt. I'll show it up on the centralized repo, which is GitHub. Let me go back and go to my repo. 𝐻IMANSHU.txt. This has a line called hi Himanshu. I will make some modifications locally on this repo. So for before that, I will show with flow that there is something called git branch. Branch means if we talk about the code base, any code base has multiple branches. One is called feature branch, one is called main branch or master branch. So what are the differences between all these branches? Usually main or master, these are the branches which are the real, real in the sense like the production ready, where all the changes, whatever the changes you see on the main or master branch are the ones which are basically, let your product use by the customer. So that is the environmental facing, that is the public facing changes. But whatever the changes that you do locally, you always do a feature branch. So anybody can create the feature branch with n number of names. So there is no such patterns, okay, I want to create a feature branch with this name. So usually people follow this sprint process, right, where they take a Jira and then they give a Jira name there. Yeah, so that main and master branches are the ones which are production ready and facing, customer facing, public facing, we can say. But the other branches are mostly the feature branches. People can use Jira name or sprint name or the code changes that they are doing, the headline or description of it. Sometimes they can create a feature branch like that. So if you look at here on the GitHub, you will see. Let me just log in. So you will see that branches here. So currently I have two branches, one is master and one is Himanshu. Okay, I am in the master branch. So if I want to see the latest code available on any GitHub repository, so you should always seek for main or master branch because they have the latest data. If you go to any other branch, there are chances that those branches are being modified by that developer name usually, or that feature changes, whatever has been doing, are being assigned with that branch name. So that may not give you the exact or the current code which has been written. So you should always seek for the master and the main branch to identify the latest changes which are available as a production ready environment. Perfect. Now we will do 2 times committing and then see each branches. How do you do that usually? So first of all, I am currently with my branch, so I'll just say git checkout. Okay, I have switched to a branch called Himanshu. Okay, so once this asterisk, wherever this asterisk is present, it defines that you are currently onto that branch. If this asterisk was at master, so you were at the master branch, and now with the color combinations also you can see it's marked as a green color, which means that currently the changes that I am doing is on the Himanshu branch. Okay, so very first thing after changing the branch, you should always do git fetch and git all. Git fetch all and then git pull all, so that whatever the latest changes are available to that GitHub repo, you should have them cloned or you should have them downloaded locally on your setup. and then let's do pull. Okay. Okay. So for git pull, you need to tell it that from which remote branch you want to pull the changes. So I want to basically pull from origin master. So my origin is master. From master branch, whatever the changes that master branch has the code, it should automatically pull all the changes to my Himanshu branch. Okay. So now my branch is already up to date, so there is no more changes has to be there, which means that I am aligned with that branch. Aligning means that I have the latest changes locally on my branch. Whatever the modifications I'll do further, I can later send a merge request or a pull request to merge it with my original branch, which is master or a main branch for any repositories. Perfect. Now let's make some modifications in our file. So I'll make some modifications in this file. Okay, I'll just add up here hi from *child. Okay, and then save it. Once I modify anything, and if I say git status, it will tell me that on branch Himanshu this file is being modified, which means it is ready to make any changes, like in the sense of in the GitHub repo. So it's ready to update this file at the GitHub site. So this is the file which is currently being modified. So if I want to push these changes to my GitHub, so for that first of all I have to add it. Okay, so it's telling you the command as well, like you can just reference it, or if you Google also how do you basically pull and then push the changes, you will get the steps. It's not something you have to learn by heart, but once you start using GitHub, you will eventually get an idea about how do you use GitHub commands actually. So I'll add this file once. So once you make the changes, you can review the status. It will tell you what all files have been modified, and once you do that, you can add this and then commit. In the commit, you can send a message. Message means you are basically telling internally just to know that this is what, this is changes to belongs to what, So I'll just say updating some description about, your code changes. Updating Himanshu.txt. Okay. I'm just simply saying this commit. After that, if I do git log, git log can give you the commit history basically. It has a commit ID and it says currently my head. So this head is nothing but, you can just think like a pointer. The pointer is either on the master branch or on your feature branch or local branch. So that head shows that you are currently on to what, in the commit history. So currently my head is on the Himanshu, which means that I am making the changes in the Himanshu branch. But my original branch, the main and the origin of this repo is the master. This master is little behind to my Himanshu, because anyways I made some changes locally, that's why it is behind. Once this changes will be approved, then you will see my head is also belong to the origin of this repo. But if you want to see what will commit has been happened on any repo, you can just execute command git log. It will tell you the log information about all the commit history that has happened in the past. Perfect. So now I'll just say that git push origin Himanshu. After committing, I am pushing my changes to Himanshu branch. If I go here, as soon as I just go to my repo, I am seeing this thing. If I go here also, that Himanshu has had recent push 14 seconds ago, which means that a feature branch called Himanshu has made some changes to this GitHub repo. If you want to see what changes he has done or the changes has been done on this branch, and then later if looks okay to the admin or to the GitHub owner for that repo, can merge the changes. So I'm just talking about PR, basically pull request. How do you do that? So you just go here. There are commands that you can use to create a pull request also, but I am showing you the graphical way of creating a pull request. So you can just compare and pull request. Open up a pull request. This is the title of of my pull request. Okay, perfect. What is the changes? So later you will see the changes. So earlier Himanshu.txt has a single line called hi Himanshu, but now it also has one more line called hi from star agile. Okay, so this is the changes that I would want to merge it to the main branch or master branch. So for that I'll just create pull request. So the pull request is currently open. Now this pull request, if I have any GitHub actions, we'll be talking about in the next sessions, where we'll be talking about CI, continuous integrations. So those integrations are there in place in case, so they will start running. So I already have two CI pipelines to perform the changes and then validate whatever the settings that it has it. Once all checks are being passed, later I can just merge this pull request. So once I merge the pull request, these changes will be pushed to the master branch. So usually this access is being only given to the limited people. Limited people means the people who owns a repo. They are the regular owners or making changes. Maintainers, I would say, in terms of GitHub, right? So who are the maintainers of the repo? They have the access to accept your pull request because they validate it. They have a pipeline just to check whatever the changes that you are doing for a particular repo. So usually it's like in the vast world. So if I talk about, right, so they have a big level of testing performed on any sort of code changes in a repo. So once that testing is successfully executed, after that only they look for the changes and then they allow it to merge it to the production, because after merging there are chances that product might break, because your code can blast anything. It can make any changes. It can crash your code. It can crash your application or the production server, whatever. So before that, they make sure that all the settings and the testings have been completely done, so that later they can be sure about, okay, these changes are valid. We can allow those changes to happen on the production environment, and then later the changes will be reflecting onto the production. So now I can see, my pull request has been merged. If I go to the code base and go to master, I've switched from Himanshu to master and go to this file, and you see one more entry has been added to my repo. This is how you create a pull request and you merge it to the GitHub repo. Right now, if I go back here, you will see here the history of the pull request that has happened so far on this repo. So it says that 1 minute ago, this was the commit, commit ID, made any changes to the history. So this was the pull request which was merged. So anybody wants to refer later, okay, what pull request has been published, they can click here and then they can go to this commit ID and then see, okay, this changes has been made to this file. So you can just see, this was the new line has been added. So if you add any line, you will see changes reflecting with plus. If you remove any data, it will be reflecting as a minus. So let's do that removal as well one more time. If I say my branch, okay, I'll do git pull. Though my branch is the latest one, I have not made any changes in the master, but still it's good to have a practice where you should do git pull and git fetch, so that you are up to date to all sort of branches that has been created. Okay. Now if I do git log, you will see my head is on Himanshu and on the origin master, or my origin which is master. So Himanshu branch and master branch both are aligned now. The pointers both are same. There is no differences in the code set. If I make any changes further to the master branch, then Himanshu branch will be fall behind. One changes has been made to the master branch. So currently both are at the same level if I talk about the pointers. Yeah, so let's try to modify the changes in the file, and we will remove some contents. So currently my file has these two lines. I'll remove a word. Okay, let me open the file. And then I will say, I'll remove this word and then save it. Let's check the git status. It will tell me, okay, Himanshu.txt is modified. Let's try to add this file. Okay, let's commit this file. Deleted a few words. Okay, I'll say git push origin Himanshu. Okay, once I do that, I will see here, go to my repo, okay, pull request, it's not yet created. Let me git log, okay, origin is this thing, request from Himanshu to master branch. So here you can see the minus has been reflected because I have deleted two words from _agile. So once I do that, I'll create a pull request, deleted a few words, creating this. Okay, once the pipeline says that there are no conflicts and it verifies all the actions are perfectly fine, later I'll just merge this. Okay, so let the actions being completed. Yeah, so after that I'll just merge it and confirm merge. Once this request is merged with the master branch, I'll open this file himanshu.txt and I'll see the changes, the words which I deleted from my local branch has been deleted from the master branch also, because both are aligned now. If I say, you know, git log, I'll see if I do this git pull origin master. So from the master, I was able to pull the this thing, and now my origin and head on the same. It's at the same level, so pointers are, you know, defining same. All right. So we saw that so far, you know, how do you modify the changes in the code, then later how do you commit those changes, how do you add the file, and how do you merge it. Now let's talk about, you know, so this is the typical workflow life cycle of, you know, creating the pull request and then merging the pull request. If somebody who has access to the master branch, which usually admin has it, they don't need to create a PR. They can directly push changes to the origin master rather than merging the changes to the origin to their feature branch, because they can directly do that. So they don't need all this PR level of you know, steps, so they can skip the steps. But it's always recommendable whenever somebody make any changes to the feature branch, they should always create a PR, so that any actions of any you know, pipelines have been created, those pipeline has to be succeeded in order to make those changes live into the production environment. Perfect. So now let's talk about some changes in the collaborative workflow, where we will be talking about two developers. You know, both developers are making their own changes with the name defined, and then later they will merge those changes in the GitHub repositories. Okay, so first of all, I will go to my collaboration demo. So I have created these two directories actually inside collaboration demo. So I have named a directory called developer A and developer B, just thinking like there are two developers who are making changes to my collaboration you know, demo, right? If I see the files, okay, so I have these files in developer A. If I see these files are present in the developer B. So if I go back here, let me just go to the repo. So this is my repository collaboration-demo. Okay, so this is the main branch, and I don't have any other branches. But now we will be seeing that you know, the changes done by the developer A and developer B. So for that, let's do this. In order to create you know, cloning, so you can just do clone with respect to these two developers. So how did I created these directories are, I did basically clone, you know, so I said git clone and then use this. Okay, I said git clone. Okay, and after that I named this developer A, and similarly I named developer B. So this is how I was able to clone the same content of my repositories into multiple directories with the developer A and developer B. Okay, all right. So after that, if I go to developer A, Okay, and let me just do git pull. Okay, right, git branch. I only have main branch here. Okay, git patch. Okay, yeah. Let me make some changes in the in a file. So I'll add changes, updating inside, let's say developer a repo or developer a work. Okay, feature x dot txt. Okay, so I have feature x dot txt. Then currently it's not showing anything. Commit is not showing. Let me just delete this. Feature xx.txt. Changes fine. Okay. Git status. Git add. Feature xx.txt. Then git commit. Okay. You can use git add and then dot as well, because it will automatically take all the changes that has been done in the current present directory. However, if you specify the particular file or directory, which is good, because that way you can specifically push the changes for the restrictive directory or the file. So it's always good to provide that value. But if you are sure that all the changes has to be pushed to the centralized repositories, so you can use git add and then dot here. Okay, git commit, updating changes for developer A. Okay, then git push. Now here I am pushing the changes to the main. I am not creating any PR and all, because I was working to the direct main branch, and I am just directly pushing the changes to the main now here itself. Okay, so now if I go back here and refresh this, go to my file. So this is the changes that has been added just now. Okay, so you see the commit. This commit is adding changes, and the changes was updated with the message called updating changes for developer A. Okay, now this is there. Perfect. Now let's do this. Let's go back to developer B now. Okay, in the developer B, I'll say git pull origin main, git fetch. Okay, so in the pull you are seeing that there were some changes has been done on feature xx.txt, and one insertion and one deletion happened. This is talking about the same. This was the insertion and this was the deletion on this file. So with the pull requests, with the pull, it's able to basically identify the changes and have updated your local things. So if I check my feature now, so this will be listed the new changes whatever has been added by developer A. Okay, let's make some changes then into the same file, and I'll see this is another change by developer B. Okay, I have made some changes in git add. Let's do git status. Okay, git add dot. Okay, git commit, updating changes by developer B. Okay, and then git push origin main. So this will push the changes to the main, and then if I go back here in the code, fx feature xx.txt, it will see the changes whatever the developer B was doing has been reflected here, and this is the commit history. So this is the new line which has been added by developer B. So this is how a collaboration between two two or multiple engineers on the same repositories has been done. So this demo I wanted to showcase the scenario where there are multiple engineers who are working on the same code base. They can have their own repositories clone from the centralized repository with their own name, and then whatever the changes they do, they are doing the same changes into the main branch, which is the main repository branch, public facing, representing their product, whatever the changes are there in the latest. So this is how basically you can do this collaboration kind of a thing. So this is the also kind of another behavior of supporting the GitHub, what it does. Sometimes if you get some conflicts, so you have to further use commands rebasing and all to resolve the conflict. So that happens usually when multiple changes being clashed between each other, and then they try to merge the settings, and then later they are unable to do that. So because of some conflicts, if both parties are trying to at same time trying to push changes to the GitHub repo, so those conflicts can also be resolved. You can just Google it up in the GitHub docs. You will find the resolution for the conflicts. How do you resolve the conflicts if there are any while merging the request to the GitHub, right? And then if you want to delete the branch, the feature branch, you can do that. Let me showcase repo. Let's say git branch. I am not Himanshu. Let me git checkout. Okay. Branch. So you can delete branch called git branch -d and then delete. So this will let you delete it. So it says the branch is not fully merged. Let me push origin master. Maybe there are some changes actually, that's why it's not letting me. Yeah, now the branch is deleted. If I do git branch, I'll see only master branch. So once your work is done on your feature branch, you can later delete the branch so that there will not be any further about the things that okay, that some feature branch was there and then later you have some proof of it or anything, though you can just check the logs though, but it's good to delete the feature branch if you don't want unnecessary branches to be created for the same repository. So to make it clean to have with a single branch, or whenever you do some changes, you can definitely create a new feature branch. So it's good to, once the product changes are done, to delete those feature branches. Okay, yeah. So this is how basically you can see. Also, if there are some things as well, like you can directly merge from the feature branch to the main branch or the master branch. You can use git merge for that. So it will merge the changes to the GitHub main or master branch. So if you want to see git supported commands, you will get some tutorials from Git also. So it has all the README files present, talking about what git init does, what git cloning is, what git status. So it will tell you all the commands of what mainly are being used by the GitHub. So in this demo, I just wanted to showcase about how do we create the repositories. You can just directly go to here and then you can just create repositories, and anytime, let's say if I go here to the repo, you can create a new repositories. You can give any name which is unique. Once that is there, then you can define a repository as public or private. So once you have a repository, then how do you basically clone that repositories? For that, you should have authentication mechanisms. So in this case, I'm using SSH keys to authenticate to my GitHub account. Once I do that, later I can make any modifications to any directory of files. Those modifications can go directly to the Git by using git add command, git commit, and then git push command. Then we also saw about branching. We checked out to multiple feature branch, and then from the feature branch, when we try to merge the changes or push the changes to the main branch, we created a pull request, and that pull request was gone through multiple GitHub actions, and those actions are succeeded. After that, maintainer of that GitHub repository are able to successfully merge the changes to the main or master branches. So we see all these things. So if we talk about, so the takeaways, you should have an understanding about what Git is, what version control is. You can maintain versions, like versions in the sense that some changes are there now, and then later in the future some more changes will come. So it'll keep on creating the version. So once that is ready, then DevOps engineer basically can create a build also. We will see in the GitHub actions in the next session. So that's where we will be seeing, okay, this is how you can create a pipeline to make it work, and then it can be any complex pipeline. So the later that build can be ready to use wherever it's required. So that is how you should have an understanding about GitHub. So this is all about version control with the GitHub. That's a wrap for this chapter. I'll meet you in the next video of our DevOps series. Till then, keep learning.